What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to be talking about having your sun opposite your partner's moon in synastry. That when we're talking about having sun-moon aspects in synastry, the sun and the moon aspects are going to add this element of making this connection one that's especially binding no matter what aspect it is. And with the opposition, this can be a bit of a hard aspect, making things a bit challenging. It's yet another one of those opposites attract in the way that it affects the relationship and both the sun person and the moon person here. In the synastry, this connection can be affecting them more so on an emotional level and can be impacting their emotional well-being, how they are connecting with the sun person. Even though with the synastry, there can be a very strong connection between the moon person and the sun person, and they can have a lot of attraction, can actually be quite powerful. When it comes to any kind of challenges that may come up in their synastry with each other, it could be more so emotional and mental challenges between the sun person and the moon person. And the sun person here can at times feel like the moon person is too sensitive. But just as well, the sun person can actually be coming across as insensitive towards the moon person's feelings in this relationship when it comes to any of those challenges. And speaking of emotions, in some way, the moon person's emotions can stifle or even restrict the sun person's pursuing of their goals in some way when it comes to being able to prioritize this relationship with the moon person. And the sun person could feel that with the moon person, which is why this relationship can even be one of an emotional mismatch, or there's going to need to be a lot of effort, conscious effort put towards being able to work on the more emotional side, whereas the sun has to do with ego and identity. And the sun person could be also coming from a place that's perhaps more driven by the ego when it comes to the way that they're trying to understand the moon person. And that can also make their emotional connection one that is out of alignment, or needs more efforts in order to be able to have a match on an emotional level with the moon person. Because the sun person being more ego driven can actually prevent them from being able to understand where the moon person is coming from in this relationship, especially on an emotional level. And with that being said, along with this aspect can come the potential for hurt feelings. A lot of the time in this relationship, owing to the misunderstanding, which can lead to a lot of emotional pain as well. And the synastry can create a bit of a push and pull dynamic between the sun person and the moon person in this relationship as well. They can be very drawn to each other, but at the same time, there can be a lot of challenges as well, which creates that push and pull effect. Is that opposites attract kind of energy with this opposition. And actually with the synastry, one thing that it can create is a yin-yang kind of effect, which makes them feel like on some level they feel the sense of being completed by each other in this relationship in some way. With oppositions, it does create a strong pull towards each other, like there's a strong attraction, because in some way their differences can actually be intriguing and mysterious, and that can be pulling them in to want to know more and to being fascinated with each other. Their differences can make it so that what they see in each other could be what they wish they had within themselves, or what they feel like they lack or they wish to develop within themselves. And that could create the strong attraction between the sun person and the moon person, which can be great. With the synastry, there's strong potential for them to be able to balance each other out. With the sun person here, they are in a position where they're able to balance out the moon person's more emotional side with their more rational or well-powered side, and they can balance that out with the moon person's emotional, more intuitive side, which can create the sense of a feeling of wholeness, like they have completed each other and they're really balancing out the extremes. The moon person can learn from the sun person, and the sun person can learn from the moon person here. So there's a lot of opportunity for growth in their relationship, and the sun person can teach the moon person by their way of being things like to be more confident, to be more assertive, And the moon person can also have an influence on the sun person and teach them to be more emotionally aware and even empathetic, and they can learn this from the moon person. In the positive, when it comes to why the sun person may be drawn towards the moon person, this can be because of the moon person's ability to connect with the sun person on an emotional level. This could make the sun person feel more comfortable in the presence of the moon person, and they could feel like it's something that's refreshing, something that's grounding about the moon person. They could feel like they appreciate the emotional depth that the moon person possesses, and even that sensitivity that the moon person has. And this could be because the sun person is not able to express it in the same way that the moon person is. And although they could be very drawn to it in the moon person, they could actually feel challenged when it comes to them having to be able to provide that sense of emotional security on the same level, and even when it comes to the amounts of closeness. And although it does not come naturally or easily for the sun person to be able to express to the moon person, they can have a lot of respect for the moon person for these qualities in them. And they can actually be able to learn a lot from the moon person in this respect when it comes to being able to balance out a more independent, goal-oriented and driven side of the sun person with the moon person's emotional needs. While on the other side, the moon person may also be very drawn to the traits in the sun person that are very confident, assertive, and even the clarity that provides for the moon person. These are all things that can make the moon person feel like it's really making them feel secure in their relationship with the sun person. In a way, it's helping them feel more understood in the relationship with the sun person. They can have a lot of admiration for the sun person, and there's this feeling of wanting to be able to support the sun person. And even the sun person has a way of presenting themselves to the moon person in a way that shows a sense of purpose, and it can provide the moon person with a lot of clarity, which is also leading to that sense of security in this relationship for the moon person with the sun person. And even though they can have this strong bond that's being created here, the sun person can still have the sense of drive and independence, which is challenging the moon person, especially when it comes to an emotional level with them. With the sun person, there can be an over-focus on their own goals, their own independence, and can make the moon person feel like they are being overlooked or being neglected, especially on an emotional level. And since they are dealing with contrasting energies in this relationship between the sun person and the moon person, they are going to need to be able to maintain the balance between the emotional needs of the moon person and the sun person's need for independence, or rather the sun person's goals and wanting to pursue them. This aspect can bring a lot of misunderstanding between the sun person and the moon person, at the same time as it can bring a lot of opportunity for growth in both partners. And there can be miscommunication at times in their relationship, which can lead to them having that misunderstanding and feeling like there can be a bit of a mismatch, especially emotionally. And the synastry can bring a lot of vulnerabilities and potentially even hurt feelings as a result of having contrasting energies between the emotional needs of one partner and the more assertive side of another. And with the synastry, there is a yin-yang kind of energy between the sun person and the moon person, with them having very extreme contrasting energies coming into an opposition with each other, which is gonna require them to be able to really balance out these energies, because it can lead to a clash. However, given any kind of potential challenges that can come up with the synastry, the sun person and the moon person with this opposition can have a strong desire to stay together, and that can be something that's fueling them to be able to work through any of the challenges and stay together and make things work through any kind of challenges that they go through or any other things that go on in their connection. It is one that's very engaging, it's very lively, and it has a strong potential of them having a very deep emotional connection and feeling very deeply understood by each other, because there's a sense of also feeling very seen by each other in this relationship. For the sun person, that could be more so on a level of their identity being seen and understood by the moon person. And for the moon person, there's this thing of them always being able to come back, and they could feel emotionally validated by the sun person's relationship too. In the positive, they do have very complementary energies, with the yin-yang kind of feeling, where the moon person is really representing the more receptive and reflective qualities, and the sun person is representing the more active and assertive qualities. And they complement each other in this way. It could also be why they're attracted to each other, that in a way create this really fulfilling kind of relationship between the two of them, even though it can also create for some misunderstanding or friction to grow through with those two being such different energies. This aspect has a way of keeping things interesting between the sun person and the moon person in their relationship. Well, that does it for this video on having your sun opposite your partner's moon in synastry. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it helpful. And if you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel for more videos. Well, that is where I love and leave you. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.